Happy Dragon Lucky. The show will begin momentarily.
All right, everyone, welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. This is episode 98. That's 0x98 hex, 153rd episode. Reminder, nothing on the show is financial advice. And stay tuned after the updates for a full AMA where I will answer all the questions until the bottom of the hour as the rules are followed. Let's see here. This week on Number Go Up, it is stable coins. There's not a lot going up, at least positive in the world. And interestingly, pretty much all the crypto is down, at least all the top coins. Let's see here. Next, Dragonchain updates. In case you missed it, the blog for security in the wake of increased use of telehealth. That Dragonchain offers telehealth systems with capabilities for a variety of things, interop, ransomware protection, probably a pretty massively important thing in the healthcare world right now. Behavior systems, privacy and security, and HIPAA compliant systems, or HIPAA compliance or capable systems, including GDPR, CCPA stuff as well. So go read that, go share it, check it out, understand it, share it with people who might be in that industry and might have some decision-making capability. The next is something that we want you to watch out for. There's nothing to show yet for this, but there will be a new layer popping up. We believe today. It's been called out and we're waiting on the execution, and that is the layer in Den.Social for ArtistryDAO. I believe it's going to be today or at least soon. Make sure you subscribe and to it and watch for information. Essentially, it is a DAO that is about to launch, and it's early still. It's in development. There's a beta there, but it's built on Dragonchain, and it is an NFT platform with some, you can imagine, we've talked about it before, some interesting capabilities with NFTs that should be valuable to a lot of people. We'll see how it all goes. And I hope it gets kicked off well and gets enough support, and they probably will be looking for feedback. And I think they wanted to run a contest on. I don't know about a contest, but basically reach out for feedback from Dragonchain community for the logo, and some of the branding and stuff like that before they totally roll everything out. So that's that. All right. Next, we go to Den.Social updates. The first is on LCP, the July 2022 LCP, the Lair creation process. The proposal phase starts today. It's already started. And per a DENDAO vote, the winners will be the #1 layer proposal as ranked by unique voter count, the #5 layer proposal as ranked by LOR committed, and the number 13 layer proposal as ranked by LOR committed. So the number 5 and 13, we should get a good spread there, and the 13 should have a pretty low supply, we would expect. So go and check that out, and be cognizant of which proposals are in there, and there's going to be some new proposals that might be at play too. This phase to create new proposals will run for 1 week. Make sure that your layer proposal is not a duplicate if you can. All proposals should be entered by next Monday, July 11. The commitment phase will start next Tuesday at 1400 UTC, 7 a.m. Pacific US time, and 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the US. Next, we go to the DENDAO GI. There's a result for, which is what's basically the criteria for the LCP this month in July, which is the number 1, 5, and 13 that we just described. We had a full vote on it. It resolved. You can go and check out the results, but it was pretty good because between the first 2 options, there was a good competition. I believe that it was. I'd have to look at the numbers, but I believe that it resolved on not on having the majority of votes, but on having the plurality, because there was not enough in the uncommitted votes to change the results. So anyway, I think that's how it worked, but it's interesting because it did work. And next, we have another result, which was for navigation labels. There were 2 separate governance proposals for nav labels. This first one was denied, and essentially leaving the icons as is. And it was to create a hover on the nav icons in order to let new users understand what the nav icons were, because some of them, admittedly, and I think some of them need to be adjusted a little bit, but some of them are not obvious for a new user. And the reason it was denied is because when the proposal was made and engineering was brought in, they basically said, hey, what do you think about this? We could also do this instead of the hover. Because on hover, you can't do hover on mobile, at least not well. And it's not obvious that you need to hover over something to know what it is. And so they offered up another potential in a collapse. And when they showed the screenshots of it, it was probably, I think, a better solution. And I think others did. And so another proposal was put up to essentially have full text labels on the nav by default, and then to have a sticky setting for users on each platform where you could say, I don't need to see that, and it would give you more space. And essentially you could collapse the nav so you don't see the text. And it's just kind of a best of both worlds. And so that one was approved. I believe it, I don't remember what day it was, but it actually was approved pretty quickly. And so that will be put in place. I don't know when. So we'll talk about that probably this week, and hopefully we'll get in on it on the DENDAO call. Next, a discussion on helping LCP layers, new communities gain adoption. That there is an interesting fact that even when I know that these new layers are being created, sometimes forget to go in and subscribe to them. And so this is a solution to help those new layers get the initial traction in a way that is not too obtrusive for denizens, and including denizens who aren't interested in various communities. Gives a very easy way to essentially turn off the feature if you don't want it. But if by default it'll be on, and if you don't turn it off, every time the LCP is concluded and the layers are created, you will automatically, and I don't know what the semantics are, but you will automatically be subscribed to a trial membership, or you'd have a trial subscription in that community. And at the bottom of every post, while you are in that trial, you would bottom, I say, somewhere in the interface, you would have two buttons. One button would say, hey, I'm not interested in this community or this subject matter. Stop showing me this. And the other would be, I really like this, subscribe me. And if you don't do either of those during that entire month, then the next LCP layers would be created and that trial would end and the new trial would begin of the new layers. So essentially that would work, and it's fairly clean because you would automatically see the initial posts on, setting the banner, maybe some early content, and you'd be able to weigh in very quickly, and or totally opt out of that community, or totally, subscribe without having to remember or search for the layer, which, the early days is pretty light use, but this would at least get their subscription counts up, so that more people will see the content. And I don't know, I think it's a good path, and we'll probably add it to the priority list. There'd be a little bit of coding for it. It wouldn't be ridiculous, I don't think, but we still need to talk to some of the engineering about it. So anyway, that's that one. The next discussion was on Polygon integration, and I have to apologize that I've not had time to go in here because I know there's a lot of depth to this discussion and a lot of different things that we would want to do with Polygon. In fact, we have at least a couple of different projects that have reached out that might want to do something with DEN and Polygon, and or projects that are already living on Polygon that are beginning to work with DEN. So there might be some other angles. And there's one other thing that involves behavior and marketplace, and something that no one else is paying attention to. And I've started to talk to, mostly because this came up organically with two separate projects related to things we're doing at Dragonchain, and the solution is a behavior system, and essentially it has to do with, I think the reasoning for this is to get onto or integrate a platform that would reduce the hurdles to people actually interacting with the Matter and or LOR token, because on Ethereum it's expensive. It's been, particularly if you're dealing with the DEX on Ethereum, so multiple smart contract interactions just get kind of pricey because Ethereum's broken. So humble opinion. Let's see here. So I will get in there and ask and try to at least put in my comments so that the discussion, if I don't, and it'll live on without my input, but hopefully I'll get in there and do that. And so that discussion is definitely not complete or final. So anyway, let's see here. Next, tune in tomorrow for Coffee with Den at 900 Eastern, 600 Pacific time. And the DENDAO meeting, which is a live call, is Thursday at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, 7 p.m. UTC. See the post in the DENDAO layer for the agenda and a link to join live. You're welcome, as always, to join to cover anything related to DEN. It's a meeting, not a show, so you don't need to be shy. You don't have to show your face. You just come on there and talk. Or you can, enter in on the comments. And you can also, if all of that is even too much, you can add in any request for discussion, questions elsewhere, or anything else in the post that will be in the DENDAO layer, so that we know what you might want us to cover in worst case. So make sure you do that. Then now we're going to go to the World Blockchain Roundtable updates. Episode 59 is on Thursday. The topic, this will be fun, or maybe, is current events. So leave a question or a subject to discuss. And there should be a lot of stuff, of course, lately in current events. And also watch and share last week's episode, which was NFTs on Instagram. The more views it gets in its first week, the more lot all the participants will get. Make sure you share it. Make sure you watch it. And then we have a result for a roundtable DAO issue, which is what to call the primary host. And the result, the winner was Master of Ceremonies. I think the thought, because when I threw this up there because I was tired of not knowing what to call the various hosts, that I think we've kind of agreed to periodically change what we call the whoever the presenter or the Master of Ceremonies is called. So, if you have any ideas, make a proposal. Even we could just, you could just say, I want to propose to change it to this, and not even give any other choices. Let it vote up and down. It'd be kind of cool. Maybe it could change every week. It'd be fun. Watch the roundtable this Thursday at 3 p.m. UTC. And what is that? It's 8 a.m. Pacific anyway, and 11 Eastern in the US. Okay, that's all the updates. So let's do it's a full total AMA after this.
Now, more than ever, our data is at risk. Our supply chains are in jeopardy. Our systems are broken, and businesses feel powerless. Dragonchain gives you a different way, a safer way, a better way, and you have power over your data. Dragonchain gives you proof in an untrusted world. Build now at dragonchain.com, America's blockchain.
All right, we are back. We refresh, see if there's anything new in there, and I guess for ranking, the ordering. I think we'll probably get to all of them this week. So first up is Spansul. Let's see here. Can you tell us something about how the integration with SADA is going? And by the way, you asked 2 questions here. I'm going to probably answer them both, but you only get one lot. Let's see here. So the integration with SADA is going great. We have a couple of things on the table. We have a couple of things that we're going to try to figure out if they fit in the this partnership, this relationship that we have with them, and we're waiting on a couple of things to happen. That's about all I can really tell you. But it's not something that is easily put together. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of potential with this relationship. So what is this relationship? What will this relationship bring to both Dragonchain and SADA itself? For us, it's opening up new networks, new prospects, and having I guess a couple of places to market some of the solutions that we already have and the solutions that we will be building alongside or inside of this relationship. And including there's a couple of really cool projects that they're directly involved in, and they're really helping us bring in the right partners and put things together the right way. And then for SADA, it is essentially them to get their and I can't really speak for them, right? But they obviously have some value in or will see value in bringing Dragonchain in, because we have capabilities that are almost certainly, this is my humble opinion, but almost certainly a much better fit for their customers than any other blockchain project out there. Because, essentially we can provide things that really matter. And again, that's that whole messaging thing that's so hard sometimes, because when people think of blockchain, they think of all the BS and the crypto bro stuff. And, we have to, if we even get our foot in the door with some of the places, we have to let them know that it's not about that. It's not about the tokens. I mean, it can be, but it is about the real capabilities, the proof, affecting liabilities, affecting your automation, your processes, very identity, all the things, right? And those are the things that are substantive, and that's why I rail against all the BS number go up stuff so much. So anyway, pretty good question, Spencer. So next is crypto. Is the time loss on movement of dragons from the wallet a hard-coded function in the contract, or can it be turned on or off without having to migrate to a new contract? It is, how do I say this? It is a declared contract. It is a measure. It's an interesting thing because when we did this, it was so early that if we did it now, we probably have framed some things slightly differently. But when we did it, it is essentially a measure. There's a formula, there's or an algorithm for how it is done, but it is not inside of the Dragon contract itself. The Dragon contract doesn't even know about time, right? Time is a measure of the interactions with the Dragon contract. So theoretically, that could be switched off. So, i.e., if it can be switched off, is it worth doing so for a while to see what happens in terms of token movement, volume, etc.? If not happy, you can turn it back on after a few months. I just can't help but feel it's stifling volume and Dragon movements in the market somewhat. It'd be interesting to test that and see how market sentiment and the community reacts. If you have a goal, when you say volume, I think there's a decent amount of Dragon movement. I don't know. There might not be a decent amount of trading, and a lot of what you might see trading is likely bots in the especially the centralized exchanges. Maybe less so in the decentralized. I don't know. But you have to think fundamentally, what is the goal, right? What is the business goal for doing this thing that you might want to do? And knowing that some things cost money, this might not be too expensive if we wanted to do this. I probably wouldn't do this. I just say that up front, that I would probably either how do I say, by ourselves or in concert with a partner, and it might be better to do it with a partner. I would rather see, and in fact, we're kind of I've mentioned this a little bit before, but we're kind of waiting for other events, which would be, primary long-term stable adoption, where we know here's a project that is going to have a reasonable number of transactions with revenue component that would essentially kick off the need for us to do a couple of things, among which could be the ability to freeze your time and tokenize it, to change the way that we do the staking, or the when you apply your time to a node. I think we called it apply before anybody was really using the word staking, and that essentially you would probably burn your frozen time or melt it, or whatever the hell term we'd want to use, but something like that. Maybe in concert with a couple of other interesting economic components. But in the end, what we would like to see is, and I'll give you maybe maybe a little bit of info to see what kind of feedback we get. But what I'd like to see is that tokenization, and the reason for that is to essentially allow people to freeze that time and not have the massive time inflation that we have now, right? Because right now, every day you get more time, so it's hard to determine for certain what the right balance point is on the fee price and others. And if our goal was to make the miners profitable, right? Which that's the goal. So if we want the miners to be profitable, then we would tokenize and freeze the time, let it melt, potentially swap Dragon, right? or do something with the time creation mechanism that would be a competition over periods of time, maybe every month, every quarter, where you're competing against all the other Dragon holders to produce as much time as possible, which can then be frozen, or maybe it comes frozen. I don't know. But then you could essentially trade it or directly use it, and then to squeeze the network, because right now, and we do have a measure for the capacity. And if you look at our sustainability report, the capacity is massive. We could handle radically more transactions than we do, of course. And so if we squeeze the network and made it more competitive, harder to get one of those nodes, and then made those nodes more profitable, it should have a good result economically all the way around. And it would not affect the scalability of the business nodes. And the beauty is then we would base the sizing of the network, or the thresholds to create a verification blockchain node, that you would how do I say, you would have to compete to get in, and the number of nodes open, or slots open, would be based upon the maybe a 30-day average with some added capacity for peak. Maybe a massive amount of extra capacity. But anyway, that's a lot of info there, and we've not released any of that before. So good question. All right, so let's see here. Next, crypto. Is that another question? Whatever. No extra. Yes, it is. No extra credit on this, but we're gonna answer it anyway. Early days, I expect. But has the business seen any of the benefits of moving the entity to Wyoming so far? If so, what have you noticed has improved? I'd say yes. First of all, fundamentally, philosophically, I think in getting out of a tyrannical state that we saw with what Washington tried to do to Dragonchain early on, and we paid them essentially a bribe. It's tyranny. It's all the typical stuff. So moving to Wyoming was at least moving to a state that values our project, and values I think pretty objectively the notion of building a project with these capabilities that might be early on the curve of people understanding it. So we're not a financial project. I say it all the time. I'm not from Goldman Sachs. I'm not a banker. I don't want to be a banker. I don't want anything to do with that whole world. It's poison, and we can see how poisonous it is. And that's what's caused a lot of that, because Washington State just thinks that's what we are. I haven't decided yet. I mean, a lot of people know I'm personally moving out of the state. I don't know if we'll have headquarters here or not, or any operating entity in Washington State. We will see. I've not been impressed with, frankly, any of, it's like, oh, it's Seattle, it's startup world. It's like, yeah, right. It's very backwards and horrible. So anyway, all that said, whatever. Next question. Let's see here. Hodl. Den has plans to log in on Den with private key or seed phrase other than Gmail. This is a great question, great timing, because I have spoken with one of the lead engineers on this particular thing, because the implementation we have was borrowed from what Dragonchain did in its early days, which was, and I won't go into the implementation of it, but we are not happy with it. And it's because some part of it was, I don't want to say outsourced. I mean, it's a fundamental platform capability of the platform upon which we are hosting on AWS. But I've never liked the implementation, and in fact, the service that we are using that backs our entire system for doing auth. And we rolled out all the information on if you look at Dragon Factor, or what is now called Factor, and that it was merged with an entity that is called MiFi, and we made a first crack at it, and we didn't have the right devs on staff to build it out, so it was not a successful rollout yet. It wasn't unsuccessful, we just didn't roll out some of the stuff that we hoped to have already rolled out by now. And so back to that conversation, the lead engineer already had plans to do something to migrate that. And so essentially, I don't know the exact order that we would be doing this, but we would allow you to retain your current username password that you have, or email password, and use that as a factor of identity. So you could still use it, but you could then also add other factors. The simplest, most obvious one for DEN would be a MetaMask based key. So you'd have a public key registered with your account as a factor. You'd be able to provide that to DEN and say, hey, and especially on DEN, because you already have the ability to claim addresses, you could say, these are also me, and now you can log in with those instead of your email. And for a new user, maybe you'd just be able to do that instead. So anyway, so yes, that's, and on top of that, other factors also, which would be very interesting and a great demonstration. And the group, the MiFi Factor group, has spoken even in the past week about applying some resourcing to get that thing built out, because I think the world now is in a better place for understanding what Factor was supposed to be, and this is it. And there's another question that relates to that as well. So let's go next. Trogador. Okay, I had asked about the GSA contract number a while back. I was wondering if there's any government-related updates. When you search the contract number listed on Security Defense Technology website on the GSA library, there isn't anything related to Dragonchain. So I've not done the search on that. I do know, because I've been directly involved in getting a GSA contract before, for an entity way before Dragonchain, that GSA is interesting because it's supposed to be an organization, that an agency that lets entities set up a contract with the government that says, here's our best price on a certain service. And so the government can go and find a service they want without all of the process of doing a procurement, which is very expensive, both in time and resources, to set up to get an RFI and an RFP, and then to do selection, and to do all the things that you have to do for that, which they usually reserve for really big contracts. So the GSA schedule is set up so that they don't have to do that. They can just come in with a government credit card. They can come in with some other payment process, but just turn on a certain contract. And it's usually for commercial off the shelf software, or services that are not commodity, but they're obvious. They're not so customized. And if we are on there, I believe, now I'm not, I have not, like I said, directly been involved in some of the setup of these things, other than helping get information to the parties, that we have multiple partners that are on the GSA, and they have either blockchain related services, or development, or cryptocurrency related services, and even with the partner AQUID, services related to encryption and quantum safe encryption and so on, that would be in those partners' separate GSA contracts. So in their schedules, which is the list of services they provide under the contract. So I don't know whether the name Dragonchain would show up. I don't know if it would even mention blockchain in some cases, where it would have us behind it. So long answer, but that's probably the best I can give you. Next, let's see here. Crypto, man. So again, you get one lot. Okay, so I see NIST are due to announce, but thanks for the questions though. Announce the next round of post-quantum cryptography selections on 5th of July, along with the algorithms, that's today, right? Along with the algorithms moving into the 4th round for further analysis, according to news release. Anyway, there were 7 finalists to compete for standardization and 8 alternate candidates for further study to compete in the final 4th round for possible standardization. We weren't in the 7 selected finalists because it started 7 years ago, before we existed, even before the Disney project existed. However, they have left the door open for alternatives. Has Dragonchain had any involvement with NIST in regards to this process? Maybe as an alternate candidate as noted above. First of all, Dragonchain generally wouldn't have anything in that because we are not a cryptography services company. Now, we do have a partner in Aquid, and they have been directly involved in some of that. And I would not be the authority to answer in what way. I know they've been involved, though. I know they have some things going on related to this, and they also did not predate this, and therefore are involved in an interesting way. But one way or another, yeah, we're not directly involved. It has come to us certain questions related to the blockchain components of what they are talking to them about, and so we have answered in relation to that. But I've not spoken to anyone at NIST about this myself. So anyway, let's see here. Next question. Okay, Dragonchain hodler or HDLR. Does minting lot benefit LOR, the Lair ownership rights token, in any way, like lowering the supply or anything similar? So the interesting thing about lot and LOR interactions is that in order to create a lot, you have to bring a LOR. If I understand correctly, the lot, the Lair ownership token, was the first ever NFT that locked a fungible token inside of it. So in order to create the NFT, you have to bring a fungible token that's locked. There is a mechanism. So the supply, you could say, does drop, but it's not burned because the LOR is held inside the lot. And there is a process that you can burn the lot where you, and I can't remember exactly, I think there's a burn call on the lot contract that does release the LOR, and the LOR does go back partially to the user, partially to DEN, and I think that's it. I can't remember if there's a third party, but either way, that it's at least part to DEN, part to the person who holds the lot. And that fee can be changed. I think it's kind of high right now because we just set it high to start, just to see what it looked like. And there has been multiple the burn actions that have happened, I think, with the AWW layer, that couple parties did burn their lot because they were frustrated with drama on DEN at the time, which was funny to me. And I appreciate that they tested that for us. It was awesome. And I welcome them back at any time because I think they can see that we didn't die like they said we were going to die. So whatever. It is awesome and it is interesting. So yes, every time that we create the new layers, the LOR that, as an example, in the LCP that is committed has to go into the contract to create those NFTs, those lot. And so there's a really cool mechanism that way. And anytime you see a business layer created, it's the same thing. They have to bring LOR, or they have to buy the LOR from us, or we have to give the LOR. Sometimes if it's a strategic layer being created, reason that DEN would value this community, then we contribute the LOR, and they pay the fee in Matter or whatever else, and we create the layer. So anyway, it's pretty cool. Next, fantasy football. fantasy football. Is there any way at some point Drgn and matter could complement each other or have some sort of synergy that helps the greater good? There is already an underlying, an undercurrent, unseen synergy that goes on, which is that dragons are obviously required to facilitate the transactions that occur on Den. That, you know, you think on Den, every single time somebody makes a post, it's on Dragonchain. So it's on chain, gets all the proof. Every time somebody makes a reply, there's a transaction. Every time somebody votes, there's a transaction. Every mining process, there's a transaction. And I think there's even more than that, but it's basically anything of any substantive event that occurs on Den is a Dragonchain transaction. Dragonchain is essentially covering a lot of that right now. Hopefully at some point, Den will be doing it. And we would like to include, like, say, dragon tipping. I don't know how valuable that would be. We would like to include when we maybe do the lot swap stuff, that, you know, where if you want to buy tokens from one of the layers in that, you know, in the DAO to help manage the layer or whatever, that maybe we could allow people to buy those with dragons. I don't know. We'll figure out some of that. And beyond that, if anybody has any ideas, obviously we're open to them, especially something that's a clear winner, right? Something that is an obvious utility that we would bring in all these people with dragons that could do things. And it would have to be substantive. It can't be like, say, oh, I want to be able just to pull value from it. It has to be that the Den platform and or the communities would need to have value, and the dragon community would need to have value. So it's something that, you know, and there are probably a lot of ideas out there, and there's just definitely too many things to be done right now. So by all means, offer anything up if you have ideas. Next, Bitcoiner. If I transfer all of my lot to a hardware wallet, can I still get passive income in Matter and LOR? So any token used in Den, you know, the Matter or the LOR token or the lot tokens, can exist on Ethereum. You can have them on a hardware wallet in your safe, not centralized in any way whatsoever. And the system allows you to claim that address, and provided you can prove that you own the address wherein those Matter are held, you will be participating, number one, in the LOR rewards system. And it's a behavior reward system that effectively rewards you for having Matter, because it produces energy, for using your energy, for how do I say? I mean, basically anything of positive behavior in the system will get you LOR rewards. And the second is if you have lot. So if you own parts of a community and it's on Ethereum because that's where it is, you either exported it in the early days or maybe you bought it on OpenSea or something, that lot, as long as it is in an address that is claimed in the Den system by your account, you will receive rewards from that layer and the actions on that layer. So the more energy applied to content in that layer, and the more activity that happens in that layer, the more you will get in LOR rewards. So yes, the short answer, yes. Next, Baba Rafiq. Any update about BPSAA and how many, any project, is there anything in there in the pipeline you're excited about? They're always doing great things. They're always doing positive things. We've talked to them about, and hopefully, and you know, if any of you are connected to them at all, hopefully at some point we will get them to create a BPSAA layer. As an example, we've offered that up as a on-chain DAO capability. So it would be very simple to work with. So we've offered them that, but I think it might have been a little early because some of the members, didn't understand, why or how it could be used. So there's that. There is something notable that was brought to us last week by one of the members that is a project that is very amazing. And, I don't know for certain if it fits to have a partnership, but either way, it's amazing stuff. And I'm very excited about it myself, just because it would be cool to see, and hopefully we can take part in it, and we'll see. So yeah, I mean, and beyond that, I mean, I think every project in there that I have had time to look into in depth is pretty solid, and in the very least, they have a very, very good philosophical approach. We're all kind of on the same page, although definitely many of the projects are looking or doing things that are completely different than what Dragonchain looks at. So that's another reason we joined back then, is because they were all fundamentally based in philosophy or in trying to improve the world with this technology, instead of being focused on pumps and price action and all the rest of that crap that's essentially killed the industry so far. Okay, next question. I think last question. Kratos, God of Boy. And what are we at? We're at 46 minutes. Pretty good. The founder of ETH thinks that soulbound tokens are the future of crypto. And by the way, I didn't know what soulbound tokens was, and I had somebody ping me about that article, the one that you link here. That and his comment was, it looks like they're trying to copy Factor. So good and bad in that. Some of the use cases include colleges giving graduates these tokens to verify that they actually graduated, where employers could see them and verify credentials of potential employees. How could Dragonchain and Den integrate SBTs in the future? Now, the good part of this, well, let me think. I'll start with the bad part. The bad part of this is that, first of all, I think that this is some of the typical stuff with maximalism, that that one way or another, if you implemented this on Ethereum, essentially you're going to shoot yourself in the foot for the general technology, because all the colleges will go in there and say, okay, we have 20,000 students. How do we do this? And they're going to look at it and they say, wait a minute, you're telling me I can't put, for example, I can't put individual transcript, other than the full transcript. Even then, it's probably too expensive. Colleges already struggle with budgetary things as it is, and the only chance that it would happen, frankly, is one of the bigger colleges will get a grant from Consensus, and they'll of however much secret money, and they will use that money to do this, and it'll be one time, or realize nobody's really paying attention to. Who cares? They'll put it out for a press release. For the college, whichever layer 2 solution will put out a press release, and it's like, success, we have adoption, and it won't spread because it's too expensive, and because it required that grant in the first place, and because the network itself, the reason it requires the grants is the network itself doesn't scale, and economically, in fact, it doesn't scale, and it's worse in a bull market, right? So that's the bad side of it. The good side of it is it does prove that, and in fact, although me as an engineer is like, damn it, why didn't we already build that? And we tried to, we didn't have enough resources applied to it, or the right resources, as I described above. And but the good thing is that it is an indicator that people understand this a little better. Now, I do think that the language involved is probably not the best language for what it is, because it's definitely not cogent. It's definitely not clear what the hell they're trying to do with it. Talking about soulbound tokens, I'm like, why? And is it because they're trying to get a different flavor to get people to start talking about something else? I've already talked about NFTs as identity, and it didn't go anywhere. Why? Because it doesn't scale. So how is this any different? Oh, layer 2. Well, we already had this in place. You can already do this on Dragonchain. We don't have a formal platform to do it directly as it is now, but we have shown this in the past with stuff like SafePass, where HIPAA compliant identity to prove a thing, to prove a state without exposing information that you don't want to expose. So we can already do this. Now, I would even say that our design already is far more flexible than anything else I've seen out there related. And there's some really good projects out there that have already preceded this as well. Not even to toot our own horn, things like Sovereign and related projects there. They already have, I would say, things that can do this very well already. I think ours is more flexible than any of those, but ours, we haven't had the necessary adoption to roll it fully out. And as described above, some of the participants in that project, MiFi and Factor, have already talked about the need to get resourcing on that and get it built out. And there's some, active tasks involved there right now. So, in the future, hopefully we'll be able to leverage this to get more adoption, or, maybe it'll help us and we'll be more flexible and definitely more affordable and more scalable than Ethereum and that whole model for grant-based adoption that we've seen so often in crypto. So I should say grant-based PR focused adoption that we've seen in crypto. So anyway, that's a good set of questions. So thank you all for giving us questions there. That was great. And it's the first of the month. So every week after this, we'll do the 3 questions. I do have a couple of times where I'm not going to be, I think, just, early notice that I might not be here next week because I won't be able to be, but we'll either pre-record or we will have somebody else sit in, or we'll delay it and we'll just figure out what to do. But anyway, thanks a bunch. And let's see here. Let me go to the final updates. So merch this month in July. Of course, it's July, so a happy Independence Day to all you Americans, and maybe someday we'll be free. And the code is America's Blockchain 2022. Let me see if it has an apostrophe. Yes, it does. So America '(S) Blockchain 2022 for 10% off of all of the America's Blockchain items on the site. Go to Dragonchain.store. This is the entire month, ends July 31, and go there and buy some stuff. It's cool. I need to refresh a couple. I've worn out a couple. And watch Super Happy Dragon Lucky next Tuesday. Follow Dragonchain, Real Denizens, and Jojo Row on Den and Twitter and LinkedIn and wherever else. And make sure you like, comment, and share the show today. Thank you very much. Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. Adaptable approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.